Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world.
So today, we're going to dig into nationalism, and not as some ancient, mysterious feeling, but as a modern institutional system. We're going to tackle a really interesting paradox, one that's kind of staring us right in the face. Nations feel ancient, right? Like they've been here forever. But historians are pretty clear they're actually a very recent invention. So how is that even possible?
To get our heads around this, we really need a better definition of what a nation actually is. And for that, we're turning to Benedict Anderson's fantastic book, Imagined Communities, which is going to be our guide through this whole explainer.
Okay, let's break this down. The magic word here is imagined. Now, that doesn't mean it's fake or made up. Not at all. It means it's a social creation, a really powerful one. It's imagined as limited because every nation has borders, right? There's a point where it stops and another nation begins. And it's imagined as sovereign because it came about during the Age of Revolutions, a time when the whole idea of a kingdom ruled by divine right was getting thrown out the window. This right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. This feeling of connection, this deep sense of fellowship with millions of strangers, people you'll never ever meet, that's the thing we need to explain. I mean, it's a bond so strong people are willing to die for it. So where did this powerful shared picture in everyone's head come from? Well, it had to be built, constructed by a new and incredibly powerful engine. So think about it. The old ways of connecting people, things like dynastic realms or big religious communities, they were starting to fade. A new way to link people together was needed, and the catalyst was found in this amazing intersection of technology and, you guessed it, economics. Before the printing press, your community was basically limited to who you could talk to face, or it was defined by a sacred language, like Latin, that most ordinary people couldn't even read. Print capitalism, it completely changed the game. It built a whole new kind of infrastructure for people to connect. And the logic behind it is just fascinating. You have to understand, the people driving this weren't trying to create nations. Not at all. They were capitalists who wanted to sell more books. And to sell the most books, they started printing in the languages people actually spoke, the vernaculars. Over time, to make things even more efficient, they picked certain dialects, standardize them, and bam, you get these huge, unified fields of communication where millions of people could suddenly understand each other through a printed page.
And out of this process, something totally revolutionary starts to emerge. Let's get to our main metaphor here and see exactly how this whole thing starts to build a real sense of national belonging.
Just think about it this way. For the first time in history, people who would never ever meet could be reading the exact same stories in the exact same standardized language at pretty much the exact same time. This process, this manufacturing, started to create some really predictable results. And one of the biggest was a totally new sense of shared time.
I just love this image. Think about reading the morning paper. You're doing it alone, right? It's a private moment, but you're completely aware that thousands, maybe millions of other people are doing the exact same thing at that same moment. That awareness is like an invisible thread, a powerful link between all of you. And there you have it. That's the result. This synchronized reading creates this imagined world of a solid, real community, all moving forward through time together. This is the very seed, the embryo of the nation. Okay, so once this new kind of shared feeling starts bubbling up, political actors step in. They see this abstract idea and want to make it concrete, to give it a physical, territorial form. This new imagined community had to be defined, stabilized, and locked into place by another powerful system, the modern state. So the states started counting, and classifying. The census created this new kind of map of the population, making everyone legible and easier to govern. You weren't just a person living in a village anymore. You were now a statistic, a single digit in a long line of nationals. And right alongside the census, you get the map. Now, this is a really mind-bending point. The map wasn't just a drawing of what was already there. Nope. Often, especially in colonial settings, administrators drew lines on paper first. They created borders that didn't exist before. The map became a blueprint, a model that reality was then forced to fit through treaties, administration, and even war. So you put those two together, the census and the map, and you've got firm lines drawn around this new community. It all works to stabilize the idea of the nation in space. Okay, so that explains where it came from. But why is this system, this relatively new invention, still so incredibly powerful today? Well, the design sticks around because it's constantly being reproduced. Every single day, we learn the national story in school, we watch the national news, we obey national laws, we carry national passports. It's basically the water we swim in. And because it's so all-encompassing, we run right into our central problem, the crisis in perception. The system is so good at what it does, so deeply embedded in our lives, that we forget it even has a design. We start treating nations like they're natural facts of the world, like they're rivers or mountains. And seeing the nation as a natural thing instead of an engineered system, that actually stops us from understanding how it really works. So the crucial thing to remember is that nationalism isn't some magical feeling that just appeared. It's the predictable product of these three massive systems: capitalism, the state, and mass media, all working together. By taking the system apart like this, by looking at its underlying structure, we can see the incentives that make it run and the mechanisms that keep it going. And having that structural clarity, well, that's the tool we need to start seeing the world and our own place in it much more clearly. Crisis in Perception examines how systems shape belief and how better tools help us see clearly. This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon. For a longer audio-based analysis of this topic, see the deep dive linked in the description. If you enjoyed this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.